Review products provided by PlayStation. Hello, everyone. It's here. It's time for us to give our first impressions of the PlayStation 5. Very, very limited, narrow window for you to see the PlayStation 5 through. So right now, we're allowed to talk about one level from Astro's Playroom called Cooling Springs and our hands-on time, our first hands-on time with the PlayStation 5 controller. Anyone want to kick it off with this level? Well, I guess the idea is that you're inside of a PlayStation 5 in this Astro game. And so Cooling Springs is where the fan and the cooling system and all that kind of stuff is sort of represented.
Liquid cooling.
Cooling, absolutely.
And so you have like beach themes and hotel themes and ice themes. And so, yeah, it's a fun little level, as you might guess if you had seen, if you played the VR game, the Astro game there.
And it's a fun showcase of the controls. Like it, you know, it doesn't lean into gimmicks constantly like I thought it probably would. There's a little section where you're like, you get into a spring suit, and that was the most like gimmicky part where you, the haptic feedback feels really cool. Actually, I worry that it'll break, but who knows? It doesn't feel like cheap, but it you know, just feels like something that'll break eventually. But to push down the little spring, you have pressure on the haptic shoulder button, and you have to do that, and then you tilt the controller back to 6-axis stuff. Except this actually feels pretty one-to-one. It feels cool. I don't know. And the first thing I noticed immediately was basically HD rumble. Like it's got really, really specific, precise rumble, whereas PS4 controllers just like the whole thing is going. This one is like every step you take, it's like tiny little
every
rumble
side
on the
of
right,
the controller
on the left. Pretty cool.
And it has this thing where there is such distinct feeling between just walking on different surfaces. So if you walk on metal, you get that sense. If you walk on wood, you get a different sense. And one of the things I'm curious, because I was playing just with the TV, and so I could hear the speaker really well. So I'm curious if it will come across quite as clearly when I have my headphones on.
Because the controller's making noise constantly.
Yeah, because the controller really amplifies the rumble in a weird way to where it feels like they're almost the same thing. With that speaker.
I played with the speaker for a bit, then I turned it off and played with headphones, and it still felt really good. I didn't feel like I was missing anything because you could still hear all the sound effects. But
it just puts the headphones in.
Like I think the speaker's cool sometimes for stuff, but I usually always prefer to just have it go through my headphones.
Yeah.
But as terms of the level for the Astrobot, it definitely reminds me, like if you said, well, if you played Rescue Mission, it's like very simple level, kind of like that. You don't do a whole lot in it, I guess. Besides, you run, you jump, you punch, and you do the little
laser.
What was
feet.
it again? Little feet thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you jump and you hover?
Yeah, you can do the laser feet. And what's the suit you get in it again? What was the suit?
The robot suit.
The robot suit. I did like the robot suit. I thought it was fun, but it is like 100%. This like level is like, hey, here's some fun things you could do with PS5 controllers, which we always get from first party stuff super early in the gen, but it kind of seems to fade off.
Yeah, Damiani, since you aren't typically a motion control guy with that robot, I don't know if we explained that. It's like you have the triggers to spring, but then you also tilt the controller left and right.
Ian, I mentioned how that worked, and I had no issue with it, honestly. I was gonna say that the haptic shoulder buttons worked amazingly well. It's probably like the most convincing example of it I've had the opportunity to use. And I think at some point till you actually reminded me that I was using the tilting the controller. I know I was doing it when we were doing it, but at the same time, it works so well I forgot I was doing it.
Yeah.
If it works that well, then it's fine.
Well.
It's taken a long time to get to this point, but it's really nice to finally see something work at this level. You don't
have to do like an extreme tilt either. Pretty subtle tilt will get you in the direction.
It's well designed gameplay wise too, where you strategically tilt the amount you need to for the angle you need. It's not like an all or nothing kind of a thing. It's like you're literally tilting how much you're tilting, which is nice. And you can tilt late too. You're not locked in, so you could jump and then tilt, and then it would kind of launch.
Yeah, there's nothing really in the level 2 where it's like too demanding on that. Where it's like you got to get like real nuts turning that
right,
thing, which is
well,
very
there's
nice.
the one part where you're on like a moving platform.
There's like one part
you have to jump over like the platforms, or else it'll knock you off. You can fit. You can like
you
lose,
can
have to
fail,
go back to a
but,
checkpoint, which is kind of
there were parts that were
surprising.
kind of tricky. Yeah. Well,
It's
and,
like
like the ice
Wiimote.
parts.
yeah. And like I don't want to undersell, like obviously it's a pack-in, it's a demo largely just to show you the controller and stuff, but it's also like surprisingly charming. Like Bloodworth and I were laughing a lot. There's a lot of, we don't want to spoil any of the references to stuff, but there's a lot of like really fun Easter eggs and references in there, like a lot.
Yeah, you might catch a couple in the footage that we just can't avoid, but seriously, beware. Somebody is going to put out some article about like, here are all of the different, they're going to line them up. They're going to have them right there the day before launch, as soon as they're allowed to do it.
And like,
but they are amazing. Yeah.
And you unlock like artifacts from PlayStation's past as sort of like a prize, and that's kind of fun. And you can twirl them around and zoom in and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a celebration of PlayStation, this whole thing.
And the penguins are so cute.
Penguins are great. They have little like fans in their armpits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Besides even like the Easter egg stuff that, just keep looking for everything, you'll probably miss a lot, is just how much you can actually interact with. Just in that opening beach environment, you can jump on what looks their version of a surfboard, and like you start trying to balance on it. Like almost anything you could see, you could pretty much do something with, interact with, which was kind of cool. And it reminded me more of something I expect of like a Nintendo platformer, like that level of attention to detail, just like quirky things that don't really matter to completing your objective, but help with, as you said, Ian, it just made it charming. It's a, like immersion factor. And I really appreciated that as you advance to each different part of that environment, they still were on top of that, which felt really nice.
Well, it's charming enough, and the game design was actually thoughtful enough that it seems like a demo that I would probably, once I beat Demon Souls or something, I might actually go through and try to finish it all, and that's kind of fun. Like, I never anticipated wanting to do that with a free pack-in controller sales pitch,
Man, they made it. Rescue Mission, Astro Rescue Mission was great.
Yeah.
One thing that I noted right off the bat for Brandon and I, there wasn't any kind of controller invert option that I could find. So I had to just adjust to that.
Ouch.
It's like how they're making X confirm in Japan. They're just rooting you guys out. You're not allowed anymore.
I'll have to put more time in with the Rumble and stuff to see how much I feel about, because it's on the strongest setting by default, and it does feel pretty strong, and like it's just kind of constantly there. And so I can definitely see people wanting to turn it down, but there are like 2 levels below that without turning it off. So that might be something to play around with.
Well, and like Astrobot might in a weird way be a poor showcase for the controller's functionality, because it is so about that it does start to feel kind of overwhelming and like all the time with it. Whereas a game like, using it in a more nuanced way where it's less constant, you might really appreciate that specific feedback on a stronger settings. But here it just is like, oh my god, all the time. But yeah, like the ice skating feels really cool. Felt really good.
Yeah.
It's almost like this like laser pulse. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's just a very different feeling than what you would normally get out of Rumble. It's like a high frequency kind of feeling.
It's what you want out of next gen, because it immediately, pretty much immediately picking up this controller, I was like, oh wow, the PS4 controller is really simplistic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that vibrates sucks.
What did you guys think of how it feels, the controller? When I first picked it up, it felt drastically different.
Yeah, it feels different.
It felt much like bigger almost in my hand, but not necessarily in a bad way where I was like, ugh.
It kind of
just
feels
took
like
me
it's
like
filling
a minute.
your hand more.
Kind of, yeah. Like I held the PS4 controller after that, and it felt much more like my hands were cramped almost compared to like with 5. You almost have room to like spread your hands almost more comfortable.
The inner edge is more flat, so your fingers actually kind of go into it instead of just being like on a rounded thing. I did the same exact thing. I picked up the PS4 controller and I like held them together. I'm like, because this doesn't look bigger, but it isn't. Mm-hmm. Is it? Like,
yeah. For the contour and the grip part, for me it felt really good, and it felt closer to me for how I prefer the Xbox One controllers. Good grip and contour for your hands on those handles. I like that style more than what PlayStation's been doing with the DualShocks for a while. So that part I really did appreciate, and like that they kind of went in that direction. But everything, I was with you too, Ian, with like the haptic triggers. Like, is it generating the resistance? Is this gonna break? Is this this is like I'm so scared about the durability of this, but it feels really good now. But
it reminds me of something like if you had put like a trigger on like a cigarette lighter, like that kind of firm resistance, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Except not so clicky, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really weird. It's a kind of a mind blower when it isn't
when it's not
there.
on.
Yeah, because then you just push the button in really far, and it feels like you're going like miles with it. You're like, wow, this button is huge. There's a seam on the outside of the controller that I could definitely feel on my hand, which I also have that problem with Xbox.
Some little things that you guys might not have caught. I know Damiani was there when I discovered some of them. So there's a mic mute button that's on the controller because there's a microphone now. If you hold that down, it'll mute audio, like all of it, like TV, speaker, everything. So if you
I didn't know if you held it down, it did that. I just know you can just tap it to mute it real quick, the mic. But that is interesting. Wow.
Yeah, so that way, if like somebody comes in and needs to talk to you, just like hold the button, mute everything, talk to them, and then you can unmute it without having to fiddle with your stereo or anything, because it's like you've got the controller in your hand. So you can hold the punch button to charge up a spin attack.
Yep.
Kind of Zelda style. And then the D-pad, there's a bunch of like little emotes, dances and stuff that he'll do. Trying to see if there's any other little things that aren't just like spoiler things. Oh, Ian smashed some poor guy's igloo.
Yeah.
I destroyed an igloo.
Oh, yeah.
Happy guy standing on top of the igloo. Ian
he had hearts. He was like, I
it.
love this igloo. And then I was like, hey, great igloo. And then I laser feeded the hell out of it accidentally. And I was like, oh no.
And then
coins.
Yeah, and then from Damiani, I discovered that you can beat the crap out of all these animals. If you beat up the crabs and the penguins, you get coins.
Damiani, you monster.
Yeah, of course Damiani did that.
This is like 20, 30 minutes for a level.
Yeah. I can't wait. I don't know why I just thought of this, but I'm looking forward to what Kojima does with this controller. It has a lot of Kojima potential.
Oh, yeah. He'll just make it explode in your hand or something.
Yeah, when Rumble was brand new, he was there.
Break your controller.
He's been innovating in the controller space for decades.
I love it. So yeah, that'll do it for our first impressions of the PlayStation 5 controller and that little slice of Astro's Playroom. Check out our unboxing video as well, where I pulled the PS5 and all of the accessories that Sony provided out, and you can see what that's like and what the retail packaging is like. And also we'll have more next-gen coverage coming over the next few days and weeks in the lead up to launch. And we are easy allies. We are supported on Patreon. So check out patreon.com/easyallies to see how you can get involved and fund these videos. We are fan supported. And if you're new to us on YouTube, you can like and subscribe and check that bell for more notifications on next gen coverage. Thanks. Review products provided by PlayStation.